Bora Bora is no longer just for the rich. Did you know that you can travel to Bora Bora on a budget? Yeah, it's possible. Believe it or not, the cost to travel to Bora Bora does not have to be totally intangible for the everyday budget, average income traveler. Trust me, I am that traveler and I've been there. What was once depicted as a socially elite luxury vacation destination exclusive only for the richest of the rich is now available to your average Joe like you and I, thanks to all of us travelers who are sharing our budget Bora Bora travel tips. If you're new here, hey guys, I'm Indigo from the Indigo Sahara Travel Blog, where we help hundreds of thousands of travelers just like you make their dream trips a reality through budget travel tips and destination guides. So you're gonna want to subscribe to this channel because I know you want to go to a lot of different places and feel like you can't afford it if you're looking at this video. And that's what my channel's all about. So welcome, join the club. Let's do this together. Let's book our dream trips and get those budget travel tips into action together. So first of all, is it even possible to travel to Bora Bora on a budget? The answer is yes, absolutely. There are many ways to travel to Bora Bora on a budget without sacrificing the luxury, without sacrificing the overwater bungalows that everyone dreams about. And I'm going to show you how. There are 4 main categories of traveling to Bora Bora that you want to capitalize on when it comes to saving money. First, accommodations. Of course, the accommodations category includes wherever you're staying while you're in Bora Bora. So that could be the resort, the bungalow, the villa, the Airbnb, the hostel, the hotel, wherever you're staying in Bora Bora, right? Second is the food. You will be stunned when you see the prices of food in Bora Bora. When you think about it, it makes sense because you're literally stranded on an island in the middle of the ocean. So where else are you going to get your food except the 1 or 2 resort restaurants that are way overpriced? And they can overprice their food because of supply and demand. But don't worry, I got a couple tricks up my sleeve so that you don't have to spend literally $200 every time you eat. Third is transportation. Obviously, flying to Bora Bora can be expensive. I have various videos on how to get cheap and free flights, so I will link those and you can watch those after. But another thing to take into consideration in Bora Bora is that the airport is on its own separate island, away from all the resorts, which are also on their own separate islands for the most part, and away from the main island, even if you are staying on the main island. So you have to take a boat from the airport to your accommodations, and that can be expensive, like at least $100, $200, $250. But don't worry, there are ways to save on that. And lastly, activities and excursions. In Bora Bora, you're obviously gonna wanna do the fun stuff. You're gonna wanna snorkel, you're gonna wanna kayak in the pretty clear bottom kayaks and in the traditional outrigger canoes and all that good stuff. So there are plenty of good ways to save money on that. You really don't have to worry about that much when it comes to traveling to Bora Bora on a budget. And I'll show you why in a second. So first, let's talk about accommodations. The accommodations are easily the most expensive part of your Bora Bora trip. And that's because you're probably gonna wanna stay in the pretty overwater villas, overwater bungalows that are on the cover of magazines that you see, influencers staying in that you're like, how the heck do people afford this, that are $1,000+ a night? You're gonna wanna stay there, right? Like, obviously. And there are ways to afford it, don't worry. In fact, I have a whole blog post on how to find cheap overwater bungalows in Bora Bora. But to sum up that blog post, basically find a really good vacation package. We booked through Costco Travel. I have a whole Costco Travel review where I talk a lot about that trip, that vacation package, and our experience with the overwater villa that we stayed in and all that good stuff, in a video that I will link here. But yeah, totally doable. Our overwater bungalow, I think, typically cost probably over $1,000 a night. We stayed in like mountain view, ocean view, amazing lagoon, a great bungalow, and it was like over $1,000 a night retail, and we got it. We stayed there for 5 nights plus 2 nights in Tahiti for around $2,500 per person, and there were 2 of us. So a massive savings, obviously, and that included a ton of other things, not just the bungalow. That included airfare, transportation, some food, activities. So that was a really, really good price. And you can hear all about it in that video. A couple other ways to get cheap accommodations that I want to mention. First would be staying in a hotel on the main island. So really the only downfall about staying on the main island is that you won't get the epic view that you see in pictures of the mountain, because the mountain is on the main island. So a lot of the resorts are around the main island, and therefore you can see the big mountain on the main island. But when you're on the main island, you won't be able to see it. There are pros and cons to that though, because there are more like jungly, mountainy excursions you can do on the main island. Oh, hi. Are you coming to say hi again? Hi, do you need attention today? I'm almost done. This is my last video, okay? The last one I'm filming. There's no room for you to sit. You just gonna sit on my lap? Okay. He never sits on my lap. Anyway, there are overwater villas on the main island too that you can enjoy. There are plenty of hotels. So really the only downfall is that it's less private. Your resort will be less private. There are more than one resort on the main island, and the resorts are not quite as luxurious. But great way to see Bora Bora. The water's still gorgeous. Everything's still gorgeous. So another way to save money on your accommodations in Bora Bora is to rent out a short-term rental like an Airbnb or a Vrbo on the main island. There are some overwater bungalow type short-term rentals available. But again, same pros and cons as staying at a resort or a hotel on the main island, but a lot cheaper than staying at one of the other resorts. Lastly, if you want to stay at one of the fancy resorts, you don't want to stay on the main island, you don't have to stay in an overwater villa. That would be a lot cheaper than not staying in an overwater villa, right? Duh. Although I would highly recommend looking for a vacation package first before booking a non-overwater bungalow room, because there are a lot available and they can be just as cheap, if not cheaper, as some of the non-overwater bungalow rooms. So it's worth looking into. Check Costco Travel. VIP Traveler is also a great vacation package company that I've booked through before too. They're both great. It's worth checking before booking a non-overwater bungalow room. But that's an option too. You'll still have access to the beaches, you'll still have access to the pools, it'll still be beautiful because it's Bora Bora. So it's worth mentioning. Second, saving money on food in Bora Bora. Okay, like I alluded to earlier, in order to really understand how expensive the food is, you gotta understand the geography. So there's the main island in the middle of Bora Bora, right? Then there are little islands along the main island in the lagoon, where the pretty water is, and that's where the best resorts are. They're on those little islands. And because they're each on their own little island, you're stranded. Like, there is no going to the grocery store, going to a cheap restaurant. There's none of that because there is no access to it without getting on a boat. So the resort restaurants can mark up their prices to whatever they want because the people gotta eat. A single meal for one person at one of these resort restaurants will cost at least $50 USD, which means for a trip of 2 people, you will spend between $200 and $300 plus every single day on food, which is gonna add up if you're there for a week. So here are a couple tips to save money on food in Bora Bora. First, don't plan to get groceries because you can't. All of the grocery stores in Bora Bora are on the main island, not on those little islands with the resorts. So you don't have access to a grocery store unless you pay $200 for a boat ride to get there, which, you know, isn't gonna save you much money in the long run. Instead, here's what you're gonna do. First, you're gonna indulge in the hotel continental breakfast because they are likely included in your vacation package. They were included in ours. They're probably gonna be buffet style, and they'll probably run to like 10 a.m.-ish, later in the morning. If you go later in the morning, eat as much as you want, eat a lunch and breakfast worth, you will be full until late afternoon dinner time, right? That will count as your lunch. You usually do have to give them your room number, so you can't like go twice, like once when first breakfast opens and one, you know, towards lunchtime. You can't do that, but you can eat enough to be full throughout the day. And you'll never get sick of the breakfast options because you'll never run out of options. They have plenty. Highly recommend mango nectar if your resort has it. Delicious. They'll have tons of French pastries because it's French Polynesia. So definitely have some pain au chocolat in there. Anyways, the breakfasts are great. Indulge in the breakfast. Then for snacks/dinner, pack food. This is what we did because we were on a major budget and we never felt hungry. We packed enough food so that we never feel hungry. Some of our favorite packable foods: tortillas, won't smash in your suitcase, super flat, super easy to pack. Tuna packets, very easy to pack, but double check with Bora Bora's customs and agriculture rules prior to your trip, especially fruits and vegetables. You won't be able to bring it in, but just make sure that before you go that you're allowed to bring any meats and whatever else. And seeds also is another one. Like, you probably won't be able to bring. Check Bora Bora's customs regulations before your trip to make sure that everything adheres to their customs rules. But we brought tuna packets, we brought lots of Ritz crackers and fruit leather and dried mango and beef sticks and granola bars, protein bars, nuts, trail mix. Like, all of that stuff is very easily packable. It won't get crushed in your suitcase and it will keep you full during those afternoon snack and dinner craving times. We both felt very satisfied doing this hunger-wise, and we both would do it again if it meant that we got to go to Bora Bora on a budget again. Obviously, ideally you'd be eating at the nice restaurants, and your vacation package will probably have 1, 2, if not more dinners included in the package. But for us, we were like, we'd rather be in Bora Bora and eat tortillas and beef sticks than not be in Bora Bora. So that's what we did, and that's what I recommend doing because we were satisfied, it was fun, and that way we also got to spend more time in our overwater bungalow because we didn't have to go to the resort restaurant. We could just hang out in our bungalow. Next tip for saving money on food is to avoid buying alcohol at the resorts. Drinks are so expensive there. It will cost you $20 and over for every single drink in Bora Bora at your resort because, again, supply and demand. Personally, like, we don't drink a whole lot, so that wasn't a problem for us. However, if you want to be drinking alcohol on your trip, buy it at the duty-free store in the Tahiti airport. A lot of people do this. You're allowed to bring your duty-free alcohol into the resort. It's not a problem in Bora Bora, so you can do that. And or take advantage of your resort's happy hours if they offer it. Our resort did have a happy hour that we did indulge in a couple times on our trip. I think that our happy hour was every night from like 5 to 6 p.m. or something like that, and it was buy one drink get one free per person. So I couldn't like get a drink and then get one for my husband for free. It was per person, but we were able to get 4 drinks for non-alcoholic drinks were like $10 each. So we were able to get 4 drinks for $20 instead of 2, right? So like, made a big difference. We were still able to have like our yummy virgin pina coladas and all that fun stuff. We were still able to indulge, but on a budget. Bless you. You good? Next, there are several things you want to take into consideration in terms of transportation once you're in French Polynesia. First, there are limited flights to Bora Bora every day, which means they will be more full and more expensive. So definitely take that into consideration when deciding when you want to go. The shoulder season is the perfect time to go. We went in November, which is shoulder season. We had perfect weather and the cheapest prices. You may also need to budget for transportation to and from wherever your vacation package airfare starts. So like I said earlier, our package included round trip flights from LAX, but we're in Wisconsin, so we had to then pay our way to LAX. Just something to keep in mind when building your trip budget. You will also have to stop in Tahiti before flying to Bora Bora, unless you're flying private, but if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you're not. If you're like me, you're in the cheap economy, tiny seat in the back. But once you're in Bora Bora, you'll also need that transportation to and from the airport and your resort, because you will need to take a boat. Even if you're staying on the main island, the airport is on a separate island, so you have to get a boat there. Again, this is really why I highly recommend looking at a vacation package like Costco Travel, who I booked through, because all of this should be included in your package and you won't have to worry about extra costs. You won't have to worry about budgeting extra money or any other costs coming up unexpectedly, which does happen when you DIY a big trip like this. Typically, I'm one to DIY a trip because, you know, I can do it cheaper, I can find a better hotel cheaper, blah, blah, blah. But for a trip like this to a luxury destination like Bora Bora, vacation packages, I would actually recommend over DIYing your trip itinerary. Lastly, activities and excursions. You can save a lot of money by strategically planning your activities and excursions once you're in Bora Bora. There are a plethora of excursions that you can do while in Bora Bora that are super fun. You can make great memories like jet skiing, feeding stingray, scuba diving, you know, snorkeling with stingray and sharks. For example, there are lots of different excursions like that you can pay to take, but they will come at a price. For example, when we were in Tahiti, we weren't even in Bora Bora. I'm sure it was similar pricing, but when we were in Tahiti before we went to Bora Bora, my husband and I splurged on a jet skiing excursion. So fun. We were able to jet ski with a whole pod of like 30 dolphins. It was amazing. We saw sharks and rays from the jet ski. So fun, and I don't regret it at all. I would do it again in a heartbeat, but it did cost us $150 for 1 hour. It might have been less than an hour. It might have been like 45 minutes, 50 minutes. So it was a splurge. Typically with this stuff, the splurges are worth it if it's in your budget. So I'm definitely not saying to not do them because they are super fun and you can make great memories that way. But if you don't have the budget for it, you do not need to spend the money on these activities to enjoy Bora Bora. You're in Bora Bora, you're gonna enjoy it no matter what. And my last tip to travel Bora Bora on a budget is to not be too stingy and to enjoy yourself. I am preaching to the choir here because I am stingy. I'm trying to be better, but I can be really stingy. I'm just a budget travel girly, like, that's who I am. But I hear you. So if that's you, try not to let money control your trip. Obviously, I'm not gonna sit here and say that you should go into credit card debt and for this trip and spend more than you have. Like, no, definitely don't do that. But if you have the money, don't let fear and control over money keep you from enjoying this once-in-a-lifetime trip to Bora Bora as much as you possibly can, period. Bora Bora is one of the most beautiful places you'll ever see in your life. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to have fun and let loose a little bit. Not too much, not too much. But you know who you are. You know who you are. If you're stingy and you know that you can do it, but you don't want to because you're afraid about, you know, the money involved with it, whatever. I know who you are because I am you, okay? So you know who you are. Just try to have fun and enjoy yourself while you're there. And that is it. That is how you can travel to Bora Bora on a major budget and how you can afford to travel to Bora Bora. Did you hear that? You can afford to travel to Bora Bora. If you loved these travel tips today, there are plenty of more where that came from in my budget travel ebook called the Budget Travel Bible, where I teach exactly how I am able to travel to these luxury places in luxury without sacrificing my experiences or the luxury hotels or anything like that. How I do it on a budget, if not for free. I teach that too. So if that interests you, I will leave that linked below. Definitely check that out. Or you can just subscribe to my channel for all the free tips. I would love to have you here too, obviously. But for now, ciao.